Well, and Joe, joining me in the Bureau is this evening's political panel, Megan Hayes, Democratic strategist and former special assistant to President Biden, alongside Republican analyst Erin Maguire, strategist at Axiom Strategies. Welcome to you both. When we consider whether or not the Senate's going to go all night here, we know it's probably going to be because they want to get home for recess, Erin, but they're not going to go home without a deal, right? Do you see any chance that that happens?
No, I heard Leader Thune on TV this morning saying he would find it incredibly difficult to let the members leave town for Easter recess if they do not have this hammered out. It would be very, very hard to put senators on planes home to their districts going through TSA lines, given the shutdown and what's happening. And these negotiations are going on. I worked for Senator Thune for 3 years on the Senate floor. I know in real time how difficult these negotiations are. It's clear Democrats want more in the way of reforms. It's clear right now Republicans aren't willing to put that in writing. But I hope, and this would be my guess, it's purely a guess just given on my time there, they've probably got Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen working around in the background now, their former colleague, their new friend, their new DHS secretary, trying to help get these final negotiations through. Keeping the vote open is a good procedure. It's going to force the members to have to stay in town. There is no opportunity to call out or try to get that flight out. But these negotiations, that keeping that vote on, it's the slightest glimmer of hope you're going to get right now from the Senate.
Okay, so if there's glimmers of hope, does this still, Megan, risk potentially backfiring on Democrats if once again they can't extract enough using the leverage, potentially the only leverage they really have when it comes to ICE reforms?
This is an off-ramp. We are at war, and our homeland is not being funded, and people are losing their paychecks for over a month now. They will get ICE funded a different way, and they have another shot. They have another bite at the apple, so to speak, with the ICE reforms. They need to get this passed. This is showing that the Republicans are coming to the table with active negotiations and in good faith. Democrats need to take this and move on and start the next fight for the ICE budget. Their whole problem was ICE funding. That is what they are getting here. They are getting the funding. Also, they put 7 bills forward that the Republicans didn't vote for, so if now they don't vote for the same thing, it will look terrible. They cannot leave for 2 weeks without this being done.
Okay, so who's blinking here then, or are both sides blinking simultaneously?
Well, dare I say it's the art of the compromise in D.C. Dare we ever actually get to see that? But I don't think it's a matter of blinking. I don't think anybody's calling their bluff here. I think that Thune knows what the reality is, given the pressures from the president, the White House, the leadership being all Republicans in D.C. right now, and Democrats, their ability to hold votes not getting to 60 in the Senate. Everybody has to compromise. As much as one party wants the win versus the other, everybody blinks at some point.
Well, if everybody blinks, it doesn't seem that the president's blinking or that even really he's paying all that much attention at this point, other than initially saying you got to attach the Save America Act to it and then backing off that. He hasn't been super active in these negotiations. Megan, you worked for a president with a shutdown. Is that unusual?
Yes, it's really unusual. Normally the White House is very behind the scenes, actively having the members at the office in the Oval. They'll bring them in to negotiate, and hope the mediator, the president, will stand there and have both sides in there. It's unusual, but I also think the president doesn't care. He's not on the ballot for the midterms, and he's not on the ballot ever again. So he doesn't necessarily care. He cares about his agenda. Also, he has a lot going on right now with a lot of other things. So if Thune and Schumer can get this done amongst themselves, let's just do this and move forward and get these people paid, and they can have a great holiday, spring break, and move into the direction we need to go.
And I think the political risk for the president exists here, right? Yep. He doesn't need to lean in. He can let the messy sausage making happen on the Hill, the kind of behind the scenes negotiation, without at this point having to use the full bully pulpit and weight of the presidency the way others would. Democrats have done a shutdown similar to this before. It was, very difficult. The president didn't lean in that much as well then, as he doesn't need to spend that political capital at this point.
Okay, well, as Megan said, the president is very busy. There's a few things occupying him, including an ongoing war in the Middle East. The president this afternoon, Megan, announced on Truth Social that he is extending his deadline for pausing attacks, or not even starting them, I guess I should say, on Iranian energy infrastructure for 10 more days to the day after Easter, April 6th. He said he did so at the request of the Iranian government. He's moved this deadline a few times now. Do you believe this one?
No. Everything is 2 weeks. Tariffs was 2 weeks. Every negotiation is always, 2 weeks down the road, 2 weeks down the road. And I also don't believe he's talking directly to the Iranians. I think he's doing it through intermediaries, and I don't think that he has a direct understanding of what they will do and what they won't do. And I don't actually know that he knows what his red lines are here. So I do think it's great that we're not going to continue to bomb them, because that means that less time that our would be actively putting boots on the ground there, which moving people, I think, is giving people a little anxiety with that. So, no, I don't necessarily believe him, but I am glad that we are not going to continue to bomb them and working to negotiations.
Well, we may still be bombing other targets, just not energy infrastructure. Erin, when we consider the kind of credibility question with moving deadlines like this, the U.S. also has said they're negotiating in good faith with Iran a few times now, only to strike them in the middle of negotiations. At what point do they have a serious trust problem, or are we there already?
Well, they shouldn't trust the Iranians. Hard stop. Cold, hard facts.
Should the Iranians trust us?
Absolutely, because at least we have a record of credibility throughout the United States history. We are the global dominant power here, and when we show up to a negotiation, you better respect it, as the United States of America has walked in the room. The Iranians have never done that. They are not a good faith actor. They're not an honest actor. We've seen them lie so far when they say negotiations aren't happening, conversations aren't happening, but they are. And the president here has been clear. Your time is running out. He has publicly said that multiple times. We will strike. These things will happen. And then everybody in D.C. is somehow shocked by the moment that when the president says your time is running out, it does run out. He makes it known and then he acts. And for Iran and for Democrats and for other people, sometimes that seems very hard to believe. But when it comes to trust here, they had better trust that President Trump will drop bombs on them, because he will continue to do so if it is in the best interest of global security in the United States.
Dropping bombs is one thing. Sending troops in is another. Can he do that politically, Erin?
Politically, that will actually probably be one of the hardest points for the Republican Party, because this has become such a party of no boots on the ground, no foreign intervention, no unending wars. And that will be a hard line he will have to cross. And that will have to be a communication strategy the White House will have to be aggressive on, in terms of messaging what the goal is, how that works, and what the timeline is, to make people feel secure that we are not putting the precious blood of the men and women of the United States military in peril for no reason whatsoever, without a clear, achievable goal.
We're out of time, Megan, but I'm guessing you wouldn't want to be having to communicate this right now.
No, but I don't think that they haven't communicated any of this out of what the strategy is. So they are already going to have an uphill battle, and putting boots on the ground is even going to be a steeper battle. So they have their work cut out for them if that's the road they take.
All right, Megan.